Welcome to this session, where we'll be exploring Chapter 4, the Business Research Process, from our Business Research Methods course. This chapter aims to provide a comprehensive understanding of how systematic inquiry supports effective organizational strategies and operations. The business research process is a foundational topic. It provides the essential framework for gathering, analyzing, and interpreting data to support informed business decisions. Throughout our discussion today, we will systematically break down the entire research journey. We will begin by identifying a specific business problem or opportunity. We will then move through various stages, leading to actionable conclusions and strategic recommendations. By the close of this chapter, you will have a clear understanding of several key concepts. First, you will be able to define decision-making and explain the role research plays in it. You will also learn to categorize different types of business research, such as exploratory, descriptive, and causal, and understand their appropriate uses. We will then review the main phases of the research process, so you can recall them with ease. Finally, you will grasp the difference between a single research project and a broader research program. To understand the value of effective business research and data integration, let's begin with an example featuring Hewlett-Packard, or HP. HP operates in the dynamic technology industry, where continuous innovation is essential for its ongoing success. To maintain its leading position, HP integrates important business data from Hoover's directly into its Customer Relationship Management, or CRM, system. This integration allows HP's sales representatives and customer teams instant, real-time access to comprehensive information about clients and prospects. Such immediate access to insights helps their teams make informed decisions, respond efficiently to market changes, and supports their innovation strategy, providing a competitive advantage. Business researchers offer valuable insights for decision-making, influencing a firm's path and success. Firstly, researchers help management define the current situation more accurately. They help transform unclear observations into precise problem statements. This means looking beyond surface issues to find root causes, providing a strong basis for action. Secondly, research can provide a full understanding of how the firm is perceived. This includes views from target consumers, competitors, employees, and investors. This combined perspective is important for strategic positioning and brand management. Beyond defining problems, research can inspire new ideas for improving current business practices, leading to greater efficiency. It can also reveal new strategic directions, highlighting untapped market opportunities or emerging trends. Additionally, research helps carefully test new ideas, products, or strategies in a controlled setting. This occurs before a full, costly launch, which helps reduce financial and operational risks. Finally, business research provides a way to examine how various business theories apply in specific organizational situations, connecting academic ideas with practical application. To discuss business research effectively, it is helpful to understand a few core terms and their definitions. First, a business opportunity refers to a favorable situation that could allow an organization to gain a competitive advantage. An example might be identifying a new market segment or an unaddressed consumer need. Conversely, a business problem describes an unfavorable situation that increases the chance of a negative outcome for the company. This could impact profitability, market share, or reputation. Declining sales over several quarters would be a clear example of a business problem. It is important to differentiate between a true business problem and its symptoms. Symptoms are simply observable cues that indicate an underlying problem, similar to how a fever signals an infection. For instance, a drop in revenue is a symptom. The actual problem might be poor customer service, ineffective marketing, or a new competitor. Let's establish a basic understanding of decision-making within a business context. Decision-making can be defined as the systematic process of creating multiple alternatives and then thoughtfully choosing among them. The goal is to resolve a problem or to strategically use an opportunity. In this process, business research plays a crucial role. Research begins by helping us recognize and understand the true nature of the problem or opportunity. This often involves looking past surface observations to find deeper truths. Next, research helps us review all existing information and data we already have. It also helps us evaluate the reliability and relevance of that information. This ensures we are using the best available internal knowledge. Finally, and quite importantly, research guides us in determining what new information we still need to gather. This helps fill knowledge gaps, reduce uncertainty, and supports us in making the most informed and strategic choice. The conditions for business decisions can vary, influencing the research approach we choose. At one end of this spectrum is certainty. In this state, the decision maker has all the information needed to make an optimal choice with predictable results. However, this ideal state of certainty is quite rare in the complex business world. Moving along, a more common scenario is uncertainty. Here, our objectives are generally clear, but we lack complete information about alternatives or their precise outcomes. Research becomes vital in this situation to reduce the unknown. At the furthest end of the spectrum is ambiguity, which represents the most challenging decision environment. In ambiguous situations, the problem itself is unclear or poorly understood. As a result, our objectives become vague and identifying potential solutions becomes difficult. Exhibit 4.1 provides a visual framework for the concepts we've just explored. It illustrates various decision-making situations based on the clarity of the problem and the completeness of the available information. As you can see, it helps categorize challenges into conditions of certainty, uncertainty, or ambiguity. This classification is a helpful first step in determining the type and scope of research needed to proceed effectively. To approach business research systematically, it is helpful to understand its three main types. These categories are exploratory, descriptive, and causal research. Each type serves a unique purpose, making them suitable for different stages and objectives within the decision-making process. Over the next few slides, we will examine each of these research classifications in more detail. Our focus will be on understanding their goals, the methods typically used, and the insights each type of research aims to provide. Let's begin our exploration of business research types with exploratory research. This type is important in the early stages of understanding a topic. The main purpose of exploratory research is to help clarify ambiguous or vague situations. We use this research when we want to define an unclear problem, gain an initial understanding of a complex issue, or discover new ideas and potential business opportunities that are not yet apparent. You can think of exploratory research as an initial investigation. Its goal is to gain a better grasp of the true nature and scope of a problem. It's important to remember that exploratory research is not designed to provide definitive answers or conclusive evidence. Instead, its findings offer initial insights and help form hypotheses. These insights then guide and justify the need for more structured and rigorous research later on. To show how useful exploratory research can be, let's look at some examples involving brand mascots. A common question for many brands is how to determine what makes a mascot appealing or unappealing to its audience. Exploratory research, using methods like in-depth interviews and focus groups, is well suited to uncover these subtle and subjective consumer feelings. For example, research for the Planters brand found that while people liked Mr. Peanut, they felt his portrayal in Bermuda shorts was unusual and out of character. Similarly, exploratory studies indicated that consumers referred to M&M characters by their color, suggesting individual names were not really needed. Another well-known example is the transformation of the Brawny Man mascot. Initial qualitative investigations suggested women desired a more conventionally rugged figure, which led to his famous makeover. Continuing our discussion of business research types, we now consider descriptive research. As the name suggests, the main goal of descriptive research is to systematically describe the characteristics of various entities. These entities could be objects, groups of people, organizations, or market environments. This research method is ideal for answering the fundamental questions of who, what, when, where, why, and how, offering a detailed view of a situation. Unlike exploratory research, descriptive research is usually conducted when there is already a good understanding of the problem or opportunity. However, it is important to note a limitation. While descriptive research can highlight correlations between variables, it does not directly prove cause and effect relationships. A specialized form within descriptive research is diagnostic analysis. This approach aims to understand the underlying reasons or factors contributing to observed market outcomes by exploring consumer beliefs, attitudes, and feelings. To offer a clear example of descriptive research, let's look at the wine business started by professional golfer Greg Norman. As he built his successful wine brand, Greg Norman understood that his name alone wouldn't ensure lasting growth in a competitive market. So, his company conducted extensive descriptive research. The goal was to gain a detailed and comprehensive understanding of the international wine market. This thorough research carefully identified various consumer preferences. It detailed how these preferences differed based on the wine's origin and the consumer's location across global markets. The rich market description from this research gave the vintner a much clearer understanding of international opportunities. It also highlighted the diverse tastes of wine consumers across regions, helping to inform strategic decisions. As we conclude our exploration of business research types, we now turn to causal research. This is often considered the most rigorous form of inquiry. The primary objective of causal research is to identify and establish genuine cause and effect relationships. This enables us to confidently assert that one variable directly influences another. To truly infer causality and definitively state that A causes B, 3 specific conditions must be satisfied. First, there must be a clear temporal sequence. This means the proposed cause must precede the observed effect. This logical order of events is crucial for establishing causation. Second, we need to observe concomitant variation. This implies that the 2 variables in question must systematically covary. For instance, as advertising spending increases, sales figures often exhibit a consistent increase. Lastly, and perhaps most crucially, we must establish a non-spurious association. This means we have carefully ruled out all other plausible explanations for the observed effect. This ensures the relationship isn't merely a coincidence or attributable to another hidden variable. Exhibit 4.2 helps illustrate an important statistical concept: spurious correlation. The diagram shows a strong positive correlation between ice cream sales and crime rates. This suggests that when one increases, the other also tends to rise. However, despite this apparent link, it would be incorrect to conclude that eating ice cream directly causes an increase in crime. The actual underlying cause for this correlation is often a third unobserved variable, which in this example is hot weather. During hot weather, more people are outside. This naturally increases both the demand for ice cream and, unfortunately, the opportunities for certain types of crime. This scenario clearly shows why establishing a non-spurious association is a crucial condition for confidently inferring true causality in research. Even when we can confidently establish a causal link between variables, it's crucial to understand that this relationship is rarely a simple, straightforward one-to-one dynamic. In reality, causality operates along a spectrum, manifesting with varying degrees of influence and dependency. At the highest degree, we have absolute causality, a stringent condition in which the proposed cause is both absolutely necessary and, by itself, entirely sufficient to consistently produce the observed effect. However, it's critical to note that this level of absolute causality is exceptionally rare and largely theoretical within the complex, multifactorial business environment. A more frequently encountered degree of causality is conditional causality, where a cause is indeed necessary for an effect to occur, but on its own it isn't sufficient to guarantee that effect. For example, having a high-quality product is undoubtedly necessary for long-term business success, but product quality alone doesn't guarantee that success. Market conditions, pricing, and distribution also play crucial roles. Most often, especially in the intricate world of business and marketing, we observe contributory causality. In this scenario, a particular cause, such as a targeted advertising campaign or a specific pricing strategy, certainly contributes to an observed effect, like an increase in sales.
However, this contributing factor is neither strictly necessary nor by itself entirely sufficient to produce the full effect, as it's just one significant factor among a multitude of other interacting variables that collectively influence the outcome.
The most effective tool for conducting causal research and reliably establishing cause and effect relationships is the experiment. An experiment is a carefully controlled study. In it, a researcher systematically manipulates one or more proposed causes, known as independent variables. Then they observe and measure any changes or effects in a proposed outcome variable, the dependent variable. The specific proposed cause being controlled or varied by the researcher is called the experimental variable. This process of manipulation involves the researcher intentionally changing the level or presence of the experimental variable across different groups. For example, a researcher might show one group add copy A, another add copy B, and a control group no add to see differences in purchase intent. When an experiment is conducted in actual market conditions, such as introducing a new product in select cities, it is commonly called a test market. The business research process, from start to finish, can be understood as a series of distinct, yet connected, logical stages. Each stage builds upon the last. It begins with the foundational first stage, carefully defining the precise research objectives. These objectives clearly state what the research aims to achieve. Following this, we move to the second stage, which involves planning a comprehensive research design. This design serves as the overall blueprint, specifying all methods and procedures for the study. The third stage requires us to carefully plan the sample. This involves making decisions about who will be included and from whom data will be collected, ensuring it is representative. The fourth stage is the practical activity of actually collecting the necessary data, using the methods outlined in our design. This raw data then proceeds to the fifth stage, thorough processing and analysis. Here, patterns, trends, and insights are carefully extracted. The sixth and final stage involves bringing all findings together, forming clear and actionable conclusions. Finally, a comprehensive report is prepared to communicate the results effectively. It's important to view this process not as a rigid, linear path, but as a dynamic and iterative journey. Insights or challenges encountered later on may lead to a valuable revisit and refinement of earlier decisions. This exhibit clearly illustrates the 6 stages of the research process that we've just discussed. The visual representation carefully outlines the logical progression of activities. It begins with defining research objectives and systematically progresses through to the preparation of the final research report. Essentially, this exhibit serves as a helpful roadmap or guide for any research project we might undertake. It helps maintain organization throughout the entire process. This ensures that each step is approached methodically and that the project stays on track to achieve its objectives efficiently. Here in Exhibit 4.6, we see a more detailed and comprehensive flowchart illustrating the entire business research process. This diagram expands upon the 6 foundational stages we discussed earlier. It offers a granular view of the specific decisions, considerations, and tasks within each stage. For example, by reviewing this flowchart, you can see how the initial choice of research type, be it exploratory, descriptive, or call, influences the subsequent methodological steps and choices in the research design. Ultimately, this detailed flowchart serves as our precise blueprint. It helps ensure that every research study we conduct is both thorough and methodologically sound, leading to reliable insights. Let's now focus on the very first and most foundational stage of the business research process, defining the precise research objectives. Research objectives are the clear, specific, and measurable goals we aim to achieve through our research. Having a well-defined objective is crucial, as it provides direction, scope, and focus for the entire project. This helps prevent aimless work and ensures relevance. In consulting, these important research objectives are often called deliverables. This term frames the objectives as concrete outcomes, specific answers, or actionable insights that are promised to the client upon completing the study. When defining our research objectives, it is often helpful to begin with some form of exploratory research. This initial exploration helps clarify uncertainties before committing to a full study. Among the valuable techniques for exploratory research is a thorough review of previous research. This often takes the form of a literature review of published academic and industry works. This review helps us understand existing knowledge, identify gaps, and avoid repeating efforts. Another useful exploratory technique involves conducting pilot studies. These are small-scale, preliminary versions of our main research project. Pilot studies are valuable for testing methods, identifying issues, and refining procedures before the full study. A pretest is a focused type of pilot study designed to refine a specific research instrument, like a questionnaire. And of course, a widely used exploratory method involves conducting focus groups. In these, a small selected group of participants engages in a guided discussion led by a moderator. This helps to explore a topic in depth and uncover rich qualitative insights. With our research objectives now clearly defined, we can move to the second stage of the business research process, planning the comprehensive research design. The research design is a foundational document. It serves as the master plan that will guide every aspect of the study. It systematically outlines the precise methodologies, procedures, and analytical techniques we will use. This ensures efficient collection, measurement, and analysis of all necessary information related to our objectives. At this planning stage, the main data collection techniques we consider generally fall into 4 categories. These include conducting surveys, implementing controlled experiments, analyzing existing secondary data, and utilizing systematic observation methods. Let's now take a closer look at one of the most common and versatile research methods in business, the survey. At its heart, a survey is a systematic technique designed to gather information. This is done by interviewing a selected sample of respondents or by observing and describing their behaviors in a structured way. This method allows for efficient data collection from many individuals. Surveys can be administered through various established methods. These include traditional approaches like telephone or mail, as well as more modern methods like internet-based surveys and in-person interviews. To highlight the often surprising power of well-executed survey research, let's consider a case study involving the beer brand Rolling Rock. Rolling Rock had introduced several lower-priced line extensions, likely to broaden their market. However, these new products consistently struggled to gain traction and performed poorly. Puzzled by these results, the company commissioned a comprehensive consumer study, largely using survey methods, to understand the issues. The findings from this extensive research were quite unexpected. The survey clearly showed that consumers associated Rolling Rock with higher quality and a premium position. They were not only willing to pay more for the brand's products, but surprisingly, they genuinely expected to. This significant insight from the survey data completely changed Rolling Rock's pricing and reshaped their brand strategy. This led to a more successful market approach, aligned with consumer perceptions. Moving to the third important stage of our business research process, our focus now turns to sampling. Since it's usually impractical to collect data from every member of an entire population, we strategically select a carefully chosen subset, called a sample. Sampling is the systematic process of drawing valid conclusions and making reliable inferences about an entire population. This is based on measurements and observations from that selected portion. When planning a sample for any research study, 3 crucial decisions must be addressed to ensure the findings are sound and representative. First, we must precisely define who we intend to sample from. This group is our target population, setting the study's boundaries. Second, an important statistical consideration is determining what size the sample should be. This ensures sufficient statistical power and reliable generalizable results. Third, we must carefully decide how we will select individual sampling units from our target population. This involves using appropriate sampling methods to ensure the chosen sample is truly representative and minimizes bias. We now come to the fourth stage of the research process, the practical task of collecting data. While we often think of data collection as directly asking questions through surveys or interviews, it's important to remember that many other valuable methods exist. One significant category of data collection methods is unobtrusive methods. These are techniques where data can be gathered from respondents without them being aware they are part of a study.
Crucially, this happens without disturbing their natural behaviors or environments. This approach often provides more authentic insights. Examples include analyzing website clickstream data to understand user navigation, or observing foot traffic patterns in a store to see consumer behavior organically.
Once raw data is collected, it moves into the fifth stage of the research process: systematic processing and thorough analysis. This stage begins with editing. Editing involves carefully checking all collected data for omissions, legibility, and consistency. After editing, we apply codes. Codes are rules for interpreting, categorizing, and recording data in a standardized format. This typically helps with its efficient transfer and processing by computer systems. Finally, we reach the core of this stage: data analysis. This is where we apply statistical techniques, logical reasoning, and critical thinking to the data. Our goal is to uncover meaningful patterns, identify relationships, test hypotheses, and extract actionable insights that address our research objectives. The sixth and final stage of the business research process focuses on effective communication and synthesis. It's not enough to simply collect and analyze data. The insights gained must be thoughtfully explained, conclusions drawn, and a comprehensive report carefully prepared. This stage involves several key steps. First, we carefully interpret the research results, clearly explaining their meaning in a business context. We also describe their practical implications for the organization. From these interpretations, we then draw concrete, well-supported conclusions. These are designed to directly guide important managerial decisions, offering clear direction. When preparing the report and communicating findings, it's essential to ensure all promised deliverables are fully met. Additionally, a key consideration is the audience. We must assess their technical understanding and adjust our presentation accordingly, simplifying technical details or providing clear explanations. Ultimately, the goal is to provide a clearly written, understandable, concise, and actionable summary of the research findings. This enables stakeholders to make informed choices. Finally, to conclude our discussion on the business research process, it is important to distinguish between a research project and a research program. A research project is a single, self-contained study. It is designed to address a limited number of clearly defined research objectives, often focusing on a specific problem. An example might be a one-time study to find the best employee insurance plan for the next year. In contrast, a research program is a broader and ongoing strategic approach to research. It includes numerous related studies, often conducted over time, that collectively address multiple interconnected business objectives. The key takeaway is that effective management should view business research not just as a reactive tool for isolated problems. Instead, research should be seen as a continuous, proactive, and foundational process. It should consistently inform, guide, and shape the long-term direction and strategic planning of the organization.